Treasure Island, Chapter 12, The Council of War.
I jumped out of the barrel and dived behind the foresail when I heard feet pound across the deck. Then, I joined Hunter and Dr. Livesey in the rush to see the land that had been sighted. The fog began to lift about the same time the moon appeared, and we saw two hills a couple of miles apart on the island. Rising behind them was a third, higher hill, whose peak was still buried in fog.
Men,
Captain Smollett said,
has anyone ever seen that island before?
I have, sir.
Long John said.
I was there once with a merchant ship.
Can we safely drop anchor on the south side?
The captain asked.
Aye, sir,
replied Long John.
That small bit of land is called Skeleton Island. It was a place for pirates once. The three hills on the main island are Foremast Hill, Main Hill, and Mizzen Hill. The pirates kept a lookout on Main Hill when they were anchored, so they called it Spyglass Hill.
I have a chart here,
Captain Smollett said.
See if that's the place.
Long John's eyes gleamed eagerly as he took the chart, but it wasn't the map we found in Billy Bones' chest. It was a copy that was complete, except for the red crosses and the written notes, the information that would lead anyone to the treasure. Long John hid his disappointment and annoyance.
Yes, sir,
he said.
That's the spot. Captain Kidd's anchorage. That's what my shipmates called it. There's a strong current that runs along the south and then heads north along the west coast. You were very wise to slow down here. If you intend to stay for a time, there's no better place for the ship.
Thank you,
Captain Smollett said.
I'll ask for your help later. You may go.
I was surprised by how cool Long John was, admitting he knew the island. Then he came near me and laid his hand on my arm, and I could scarcely conceal a shudder.
Ah,
he said,
this island is a sweet spot for a lad. You'll swim, climb trees, and run up the hills like a goat. Tell me when you want to go exploring, and I'll make up a snack for you.
Then he clapped me on the shoulder and hobbled off. Captain Smollett, the squire, and Dr. Livesey were talking together on the quarterdeck. I was anxious, but I dared not interrupt them while the crew was listening. I was trying to think of some way to get their attention when Dr. Livesey called to me.
Jim, fetch my pipe for me,
he said. I ran and got his pipe, and when I gave it to him, I whispered,
Doctor, please do as I say. Get the captain and squire down to the cabin and then send for me. I have terrible news.
The doctor's face turned serious, but he recovered quickly.
Thank you, Jim,
he said quite loudly. Then, acting as if he'd asked me a question, he added,
That was all I wanted to know.
The doctor then rejoined Captain Smollett and the squire as they looked toward the island. They spoke together, and though no one made a move, it was clear Dr. Livesey had communicated my request.
Mr. Anderson, summon the men,
the captain ordered. Job blew a few notes on his pipe, and the crew assembled on deck.
My lads,
Captain Smollett said,
you have all performed your duties admirably. So, Mr. Trelawney wants you to have a drink to celebrate a job well done. He and I and the doctor are going below for a few moments, and then you will have some rum. If you agree, let's give Mr. Trelawney a good sea cheer.
The cheer followed, and it rang out so full and hearty, I could hardly believe these same men were plotting to kill us.
A cheer for Captain Smollett, too,
Long John added, and this cheer was also shouted with enthusiasm. The three gentlemen went below, and not long after, word was sent that Jim Hawkins was wanted in the captain's cabin. When I arrived, all three were seated around the table, and the doctor was smoking with his wig in his lap, a sign he was agitated.
Now, Hawkins,
Trelawney said,
speak up.
I told them what I'd heard, and nobody interrupted.
Captain,
Trelawney said, finally,
You were right, and I was wrong. I'll admit it.
I must have missed some clues, too,
the captain returned.
for I never heard of a crew planning to mutiny without any warning signs.
It's Silver's influence,
said the doctor.
He's a remarkable man.
He'd look remarkably good hanging from the rigging,
the captain said.
Well, we can't turn back. If I ordered them to turn around, they'd attack us at once. We have some time, at least until this treasure's found, but we'll have to fight them sooner or later. I propose we hit them when they least expect it. Can we count on your servants, Mr. Trelawney?
Definitely,
the squire declared.
That's 3 men,
the captain said.
Add the rest of us and that makes 7, including Hawkins here. Can we count on any more men?
The men Trelawney hired before he met Silver should be honest,
replied the doctor.
We can't rely on them,
the squire said.
Israel was one of those men.
Well, gentlemen,
said the captain,
keep your eyes and ears open. We can do nothing until we know who's with us.
Jim can help,
the doctor said.
The men like him, and Jim notices everything.
Hawkins, I'm putting my faith in you,
said the squire. I felt desperate and helpless because we were so outnumbered. Right now, the grown men on our side were 6 to the pirates' 19.
Little Fox.